A fleet of Vikings, Scots, and Britons assembles off the Wirral coast. King Æthelstan watches from the shore. Late summer, 937. The Battle of Brunanburh, 937, the most pivotal battle in the history of England, is the climax of the Vikings' invasion of England. A silver coin stamped King of all Britain emerges from the carnage. But within 2 years, the unified kingdom collapses, and the reason has nothing to do with enemy armies. Olaf Guthfrithson commands this armada, the last remnant of the great heathen army that shattered the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms a generation earlier, uniting the Dublin Vikings with the northern Scots under King Constantine II. Their victory at Corbridge has granted them unchallenged momentum. This fragile Norse-Celtic alliance aims to topple the House of Wessex. The strategic dominance of these Viking warlords across the north appears impenetrable. A terrifying coalition gathers under darkening skies, preparing to extinguish the fortress of English unity forever. The two kings issue the West Saxon call to arms, summoning feared militias from Hereford to Kent. For the first time in a generation, the Mercian and West Saxon forces will advance into the field as a single, unified English entity. The recruits are not professional soldiers. They are farmers, blacksmiths, and laborers bound by ancient oaths. Yet the existential threat of a northern invasion demands this unprecedented military and political union. Every available man marches under Æthelstan's banner. Olaf Guthfrithson launches the opening move of the campaign in early autumn. His Viking longboats establish a fortified base camp along the River Humber. Scouts report that the fearsome Norse-Gaelic warriors are systematically raiding deep into Mercia, stripping the countryside of provisions. Olaf is not merely pillaging. He is deliberately provoking the English monarch into a premature response, attempting to force a decisive confrontation before the dispersed Shire levies can fully concentrate their strength. Æthelstan receives the reports of scorched Mercian villages and the calculated slaughter of local militias. He believes the Northern Alliance will splinter under the weight of its own competing ambitions. He is wrong about their cohesion. The king possesses a terrifying capability his enemies have fatally underestimated. Æthelstan has spent a decade drilling his household troops to advance and wheel in precise coordination as a single, armored fist. No Viking warlord has ever faced disciplined infantry on this scale. The English king makes an extraordinary strategic decision. He deliberately delays his advance for 3 full weeks, refusing to engage. This calculated restraint forces the Allied forces to remain stationary along the Wirral Peninsula, consuming their pillaged supplies. The Northern Coalition is now pinned between the Irish Sea and an immovable English army. Hunger and internal distrust begin to gnaw at the Viking camp. Æthelstan has transformed his political weakness into a logistical weapon without shedding a single drop of blood. The northern terrain becomes an unforgiving adversary for both armies. Dense woodland and marsh compress 30,000 warriors into a narrow corridor. Æthelstan's scouts search desperately for any path to flank the massive Norse-Celtic shield wall. Mobility is reduced to nearly zero. The English approach channels directly into the deadly, waiting enemy formation. Any miscalculation here means catastrophic destruction. The landscape itself has chosen a side before a single blade is raised. Olaf Guthfrithson deploys his elite Norse-Gaelic shock troops in a compact wedge-shaped formation known as the Swine-Array. King Constantine II anchors the center with his hardened Strathclyde spearmen and Scottish axemen. The Allied commanders are gambling everything on a single, shattering charge. Their strategy is brutally simple. Shatter the English shield wall in the first 60 seconds and roll up the flanks. The terrifying reputation of Viking berserkers alone is expected to break the militia resolve before the lines even meet. Within minutes of the collision, the English strategy disintegrates under a devastating Scottish assault. The push isolates the Norse mercenaries along the woodland edge. Multiple spears pierce their commander Thorolf. He dies instantly under the trees. The immense weight of the Dublin Vikings buckles the Mercian center. The English line fractures. Casualties mount. The plan of a controlled defensive engagement is gone. Annihilation appears unavoidable as the shield wall shatters. Æthelstan commits his personal household guard into the collapsing Mercian center. The king himself rides to the breakpoint. His intervention is not a rescue, it is a calculated counterstrike. The disciplined West Saxon infantry executes a precise wheeling maneuver, crashing directly into the exposed flank of the pursuing Scots. The Viking Swine-Array, now overextended and isolated, discovers there is no second English line to break. There is only the steel wall of the Royal Guard advancing through the carnage. The English counterattack transforms the battle into a methodical slaughter. The disciplined West Saxon shield wall tightens its formation, each man stepping over the bodies of the fallen. Celts and Vikings find themselves compressed into a shrinking pocket with their backs against the cold waters of the Irish Sea. Tactical discipline overcomes ferocious individual bravery. The Northern coalition that seemed invincible at dawn is now fighting for survival. King Constantine II realizes the catastrophic magnitude of his miscalculation. His son, the prince and heir to the Scottish throne, lies dead among the carnage with multiple axe wounds. The old king abandons his royal standard on the bloody field, fleeing northward on a wounded horse as his bodyguards form a desperate screen. The last organized resistance collapses when Olaf Guthfrithson's personal warband is systematically surrounded and cut down. The Dublin Viking threat to England dies on this anonymous coastal ground. A Welsh chronicle records that Æthelstan's legendary sword, a gift from Hugh the Frank, is shattered during the brutal combat. The bishop will later claim that a miraculous, intact blade was restored to the monarch's side. The king himself survives the carnage, his grim testimony carved into the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle in a single, devastating entry. 5 kings and 7 earls lie dead. The battlefield is described only as a great slaughter. The surviving Norse and Scottish warriors flee in undisciplined panic toward their beached longships. English cavalry pursues them across the Wirral, cutting down stragglers without mercy. The slaughter continues all the way to the coast. Æthelstan has achieved a victory so absolute that no Viking army will ever threaten the territorial integrity of England again. The Northern Alliance is not merely defeated, it is annihilated as a political and military force for an entire generation. The Irish annals record the staggering scale of the coalition's destruction with chilling precision. Thousands of mail-clad Norse warriors lie motionless in the marshy ground. King Constantine II, sonless and broken, abdicates his throne 6 years later to spend his remaining days in a Celtic monastery. The Northern Alliance that sought to dismember the English kingdom has instead forged it into an unbreakable reality. But the unification of England has come at a terrible human cost. This catastrophic defeat permanently breaks the momentum of the Viking invasions of England and reshapes the map of medieval England. Æthelstan's charters now proclaim him King of the English and ruler of all Britain. The coinage struck after the battle bears a new, unprecedented title, Rex Totius Britanniae. The powerful northern warlords who once threatened Wessex are reduced to submitting as witness signatures on royal land grants. The geopolitical structure of the island has fundamentally shifted. The immediate political shockwave reverberates through every royal court in Western Europe. Æthelstan arranges advantageous royal marriages for his half-sisters with the Frankish and Ottonian dynasties, transforming a peripheral Anglo-Saxon kingdom into a respected European power. The unified English kingdom created at Brunanburh will prove so durable that it survives the disastrous reign of Ethelred the Unready and the conquest of Canute the Great. The template forged in blood on this battlefield defines English sovereignty. Why is the Battle of Brunanburh 937 erased from the grand sweep of the history of England? The question drives the modern search for this forgotten crucible of the British Isles. The colossal infantry collision permanently established the geopolitical boundaries of the realm. The exact location of the battlefield remains unknown, a deliberate historical amnesia that transformed a nation-defining victory into the greatest mystery of the Anglo-Saxon era. Æthelstan dies peacefully in his bed 2 years after Brunanburh, the undisputed overlord of all Britain. He is buried at Malmesbury Abbey with full royal honors, the first true king of England. His half-brother Edmund inherits a unified throne and immediately faces the war Æthelstan's victory was supposed to have ended. The relentless struggle shifts immediately to the Viking recapture of York. The next chapter in Anglo-Saxon history. The Viking recapture of York and the Battle of Tettenhall will decide if England survives. Subscribe to stay with this series. The next engagement is already in production. If you are watching on a television screen, the QR code on screen now will take you directly to the subscribe button on your phone.